Now then, a snake called Ronaldo, who was thought to be male, has given birth to 14 babies, or snakelets.
Yeah, that's not the end of this story. Because what makes it even more remarkable is that Ronaldo has never had a mate. So what's going on?
I don't know, but I think there's something going on over my shoulder. It's slightly disconcerting. It is a really exceptionally rare phenomenon known as parthenogenesis.
You're so clever.
Or virgin birth, and it came as a surprise to 13-year-old Ronaldo's keepers. Here's our reporter, Sophie Cridland.
This is Ronaldo, who's been living at City of Portsmouth College for the last 2 years. It's thought the 13-year-old boa constrictor was male, but last week staff had a sneaky surprise when she gave birth to 14 babies.
I rescued Ronaldo about 9 years ago from the RSPCA. I started work at the college and went into animal care. At that point I was reducing my collection of snakes, and so I brought my animals with me to the college, and Ronaldo was one of those animals. Our students came in as usual and approached the vivarium as they normally would do. They attend to the animals. One of the students alerted our fellow members of staff to the fact there was baby snakes moving around inside. And then the news got to me straight away, so I raced down here to see what was going on, and lo and behold, there was baby snakes everywhere. She's given birth without seeing a male, certainly not in the time that I've had her, for 9 years, which is ordinarily a very long time span to go through without seeing a male for a snake to be pregnant. After doing a little bit of research, we found that on a very rare occasion, snakes can do this.
Very rare indeed, as it's likely this process known as parthenogenesis has only ever happened 3 times to a Brazilian rainbow boa constrictor.
A very brave Sophie Cridland there. We're joined now by snake expert and podcaster Dr. Steve Allain. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us, Steve, to explain this. Because who knew? I didn't know.
I didn't know.
This was a thing. Explain how it works.
Sure, no, exactly. It is surprising, and yeah, it seems to be quite rare. Although snakes and some other animals have different sex chromosomes to ourselves, which means that the females have the ability to produce young without having contact with males. In rare and exceptional circumstances, such as this, where they haven't had contact with a male, and therefore, they still have those urges and those drivers to reproduce. And so, that they can just fertilise their own eggs.
I mean, it's quite staggering, isn't it? We're just looking at the pictures of the 14 snakelets. If there are people who have snakes at home, can they expect to come down one day to their tank and find all of a sudden they've gone from 1 to 15?
It's possible, but extremely unlikely. It depends on the species, depends on the husbandry, how long they've been in captivity, etc. In nature, this seems to be, quite rare as well. It's only been recorded in about 50 species, and there are, over 10,000 species of reptiles. So, extremely rare. Although there are a couple of species where, this is the only way they reproduce. So, some of them are all female, and they all reproduce via parthenogenesis. But yeah, again, there's handfuls out of, the multitude of reptiles out there.
You're a snake expert. You're out and about all over the UK all the time. I mean, how many snakes are out there?
In terms of in the wild in the UK?
Yeah.
So we've got 3 native species and then a single introduced. And yeah, they're out in the wild. Some of them are quite widespread and common, although the reason why many people don't see them is they're quite elusive, they don't want to be seen. And so, finding them is quite tricky, which makes my life a lot harder. But yeah, they're out there.
I'm intrigued to know why. What would be the reason? And I guess it's such a rare phenomenon that it might be difficult to know the answer to this question. But why would Ronaldo have spontaneously decided to have babies?
This is a very good question, and I can only assume that Ronaldo would have preferred to produce sexually with a partner, because that way there's a whole host of genetic recombination which helps to prevent genetic damage, against disease, all of those sorts of things that comes along with that. But unfortunately, in the absence of a male, Ronaldo has produced these young using parthenogenesis and revealed the true nature of the snake biology, i.e. that they weren't male, they were female, and surprised their keepers with these babies as well. Which it's a bit of a double shock, I guess. The last thing you expect is a male snake to give birth to 14 young, but it seems that in this case the snake was missexed, and this is also common. In some species, it's particularly hard to tell the sexes apart.
Dr. Steve, it's been fascinating talking to you. I genuinely feel that I've learned something today.